How's it going, everybody? Adam Devine here from Devine Concepts down in Naples, and this is my submission for the 2022 MEA Installer of the Year. For our build vehicle, I chose a 2021 Corvette C8, which is a client of ours, Mike O'Brien. It's a pretty cool Zeus metallic bronze. He came to me back in April of 2021 and wanted to do radar and laser. So I figured it would be a great build vehicle for us to showcase some of our talents, how we integrate through the vehicle, aesthetically, wiring, electrical, the whole 9 yards. He had no idea really that we were going to go as far and as crazy as we did with it. The whole thing was kind of a surprise. It's one of those builds that I just felt like the car justified a premium build. Even though he really wasn't up for a stealth build or didn't really consider it or want to put it out of pocket for the stealth build, it was a challenge for me. So that's something that I love. So some of the first photos that you're going to see here are photos of the day he arrived. Anytime we do a radar or laser build to this caliber, we always do a consultation appointment with that client where we're going to go ahead and take photos of the front of the vehicle, the back of the vehicle, sides, interior, to kind of get an idea on product placement. And what we'll do is we'll go through and start looking at the kind of architecture of the exterior of the vehicle. Where's it going to be the most practical to put these components? Where are they going to be most effective in terms of safety and really security in terms of speed and not getting caught, which is the whole purpose. So first couple photos that you see here is us walking around the car and getting some highlight photos of the exterior of the vehicle. And then we'll start diving into the actual meat and potatoes of the build. So we start the build just like any other build that comes through our shop by pulling the vehicle into the bay and doing a thorough check-in from interior lights, dash lights, turn signals, hazards, any paint, scratches, scuffs, dings, all are notated and marked in. Even though it's a brand new car, you never know what you're going to find, and if the client's not extremely familiar with the car either and they just got it, there could be things that are hidden that they don't know about. After doing a check-in, we go ahead and protect the vehicle. So we use our interior and exterior paint protection film to cover all the surfaces that we're going to be working around, as well as seat covers over the driver and passenger seat, and interior protection film to protect the upholstery. For equipment, we landed on the Rodenso Ultimate Edition, which is comprised of the RCM radar controller, as well as the AL Priority CPU and laser jammers. The kit actually comprised of 5 different laser jammer heads, which are the RX configuration, as the vehicle's too low to the ground to use a TX sensor. It's got a front and rear radar receiver, so you know which direction the alert's coming from. All of the wiring is prepped the first day, so all of the wiring, which ends up being almost about 160 feet of wiring, is seamlessly integrated throughout the vehicle. It's all wrapped. If it's exterior, it gets wrapped with an exterior protection tape. If it's interior, it gets a cloth protection tape. And then all of the terminating ends are going to get heat shrink labeled for future serviceability. We designed the front, left, and right acrylic pods to mimic a body line that was up on the front of the hood. We tried to keep all the angles pretty sharp in a kind of the triangle fashion that you're going to see on a lot of the front face of the bumper. So we stack fabricated them out of acrylic after laser cutting them out. And then we had to achieve a bevel to counteract the slope of the front bumper, and we achieved that by running it through the table saw attached to another piece of wood that's already got a chamfer on it. After that's all completed, we mock them up with threaded inserts, 8/32 threaded rod, to allow us to secure it to the bottom side of the bumper. We found the degree by using a digital angle gauge, and then covered the last portion of the pod with Perspex to give it a polished black acrylic look but it's still IR permeable to send and receive through. So for the center jammer, we went ahead and removed the front license plate cover. The front license plate cover has a really sharp V at the tip of it, so versus trying to flush the jammer in, we actually mounted the jammer behind the plate cover. And we went ahead and took some cast acrylic and heat formed it over the V on the front of the license plate, so that way we could run a small palm router to router out a window on the front license plate cover. After we did that, we took regular 1/16 or 1/8 inch acrylic and heat formed it to make that bend, making sure to make it that we didn't have a really sharp bend in the center, so that way it didn't screw up the jammer's ability to send or receive coming through that window. After all was said and done, after figuring out how much it was going to shrink by heating it up, we were able to make the final piece out of Perspex and fit it right into the plug. We mounted the jammer itself to the body back behind the license plate cover and angled it to go right through the window so it's level with a horizontal plane. After all was said and done, the final view here of the front bumper, all three jammers are completely hidden, the left, the center, and the right, all in their respective pods and coverings, and aesthetically from the front of the car, nothing is visible at all. And the front radar antenna receiver is mounted right behind the front plate, which is drilled and tapped and mounted to the front support bar. With the rear bumper removed, we found an optimal place to mount the rear radar antenna. We used a piece of 1/4 inch ABS and heat bent it to make a L-shaped bracket for the rear radar to rest on. It's located right behind the driver rear tire to the left of the tub. We ensured that the bracket was horizontally and vertically level for the most optimal performance of the rear radar antenna. The last two laser jammers are mounted in the rear of the vehicle to the left and right of the factory backup camera. We designed a valance in AutoCAD to hide both jammers and made a tapered curve at the center to ensure that the backup camera's line of sight was not impeded. The valance was made of the same perspex we used on the front pods to ensure that IR transmission was not disrupted by the panel. We laser cut and affixed 4 mounting tabs to the valance to secure it to the rear lip utilizing stainless steel machined hardware. Care was taken to heat bend the rear valance to match the vehicle's contour and curves. With the valance in place, the last two jammers are 100% hidden from sight. The last module to mount up on the build was the RCM display. We wanted to pick an area that retained the OEM look and feel but was not also out of the way. We chose up in the overhead console. We removed the passenger seat indicator light, which was up there, and stashed it behind the controller so to not trip the airbag light. The controller fit like a glove in the location after a small trimming on the back side of the panel. We finish off the installation like we do all of our Redenzo Ultimate Edition installs, leaving the client with a Redenzo ball cap, gift cards, and samples to Adams polishes. We also custom laser engrave a door tag for the build, which has all the equipment model and serial numbers for easy access for future firmware updates. So that completes our build out on our 2021 C8 with a Redenzo Ultimate Edition and jammers stealthed from front to rear. Want to thank everybody for watching our build log. I know it's a little bit difficult with a bunch of photos overlaid with voiceovers. It's actually kind of a little challenging for us on the video editing side as well. Things to notate for future years to come to take more videos as we go through. I'd have to say my personal and professional evolution over the past year has been absolutely tremendous. In the professional aspect, I got to experience having an apprentice for, albeit only 10 months. It was nice to have some type of support inside our business other than just myself. Although things didn't work out and he had to leave the state, we are still looking to hire and bring new team members on, so that was a exciting experience that we got to have that I haven't really got to touch on since being in big box retail and being in a leadership role in that. So it was nice to have something inside our own house, our own facility, and working with that. My personal growth as an installer, I keep continuing to drive and push myself outside my comfort zone. whether it's working on the upholstery and the industrial sewing machine to the laser and the CNC. Working on my welding skills. I've acquired a 3D printer in the past couple of months, and I've started working on 3D rendering, modeling, mocking up. There's just always something new, and there's always something different. And there's a lot of different ways to attack fabrication, electrical, stuff that's maybe not really touched our industry yet, but there's practices in things that are in other cultures and other industries that we can take and kind of bring into our own and kind of revolutionize the way that we do things inside our industry. So I always try to keep a lookout for certain things that are new or different that we could incorporate from a different world and into our own world. Because that's the way it's continued to be for years over years. We're ever evolving. You know, a lot of shops started and base themselves as an audio shop, and they become trimmers and upholsterers and fabricators and woodworkers and machinists and modelers and makers. So the category has really, really expanded in my eyes, from just the 12-volt world to really being that automotive personalization and customization expert. So how I would describe my impact on our store is obviously huge. With me being a sole proprietor, if I'm not here getting the work done, working on the sales, working on the cars, nothing gets done. I don't have a business anymore. But, you know, albeit we did have an apprentice for a short stint of time, while he was here, the impact that we had on him was huge. He was completely green, new to the 12-volt world, new to the mobile electronics industry, and we kind of set him on the correct career path and getting educated through the MECP program, working on his skill set as far as working on vehicles, dismantling, engineering, how things are layered, and just a understanding of the electrical architecture and low voltage that goes on inside a car, to make him effective troubleshooter and diagnostic and understand the technical how-tos and the whys behind the way things work. And to me, that's extremely imperative, especially going forward into newer vehicles, and the architecture keeps getting more and more complex. It's just one computer talking to another computer, and making sure that we kind of integrate our what's going to be soon to be legacy equipment into these drastic computerized infotainment systems is going to be extremely important, that you have those fundamentals and background and education to make sure that, one, that it meets and exceeds the client's expectations, and two, that no damage is done to the vehicle. The new vehicles are becoming overly sensitive, and so how we integrate and manipulate inside that architecture is crucial. So events like Knowledge Fest and MECP and different universities and installer institutes and training programs and seminars, and really the list could go on and on. Those things, in my opinion, are all fundamental to my growth as well as the growth of my employees going forward. So you'll never not see us engage. You'll never not see us attending an event, because those are all the things that make you better at what you do day in and day out. And that's where my focus is on myself, and that's my focus for any employee that comes and works for me. So if I had to give examples of how my role inside the industry, what do I do to make other industry professionals better? A big caveat for me is being part of the MECP program and being a subject matter expert. So back when we had the analog books, and I was helping co-write and write chapters in those books to make sure that we're on the cutting edge of education and the 12-volt world, and making sure that people are taking the fundamentals and utilizing them to make sure that we have a seamless install from end to end. Then also I contribute as a volunteer at Knowledge Fest events to teach training and fabrication, installation best practices, management and owners classes, and I'm partnering up with another tenured colleague to do a brand or branding class out at Vegas. So we'll be working on that after I finish these videos and getting the ball rolling for that. But with all that being said, I try to assist anybody and everybody that reaches out to me. And going to K-Fest events and then sharing my information with peers and networking. Realistically, I get probably anywhere between 5 to 10 phone calls, private messages a week from technicians all across the country, asking for support or help, whether they're running into a diagnostic issue or an issue with a vehicle or understanding how something works or troubleshooting a problem with them. I do it from all times of the day and all times of the night. There isn't a time that I really won't pick up the phone or won't respond to another fellow installer in need. To me, as I've said in multiple of my videos over the past years, troubleshooting and diagnostic is one of my favorite things to do. And if I can help another installer overcome an obstacle in their installation or an issue that they're having, I'm going to do it. I'm going to stop whatever I'm doing to make sure that I help them, or I'll put an AirPod in and keep working on the vehicle that I'm working on while I'm helping them troubleshoot the vehicle that they're on. It's part of the one team, one dream mentality. And I do my best to try and get us to a point where we're reversing the race to zero. And what I mean by that is for so many years, the industries fought against each other, store to store, in a race for sales. Well, obviously due to the pandemic, sales are at an all-time high, which is absolutely excellent, but we get to capitalize on what we do post-sale or the transactions that we do while all that traffic is here. So that way we can continue on that rise and platform after it kind of pops and goes back to normal, which I hope it doesn't, but if it does, you've created that rapport and that established that guideline with the customers that their quality level that's coming out of our industry is second to none now. So instead of a race to zero, let's race to the next level and see who can have the highest labor rate based off of expertise and knowledge and craftsmanship. Let's go the other way. So instead of how many vehicles you can turn and burn and just knock out, and maybe it's subpar, let's go the other way. Go the complete other opposite direction and put knowledge, fundamentals, experience, craftsmanship, customer service, all top of line and all top of mind. And what that's going to do is it's going to raise our labor rates across the board. Not from only just our establishment here, but if everybody gets on with that kind of mentality, then we can start raising the labor rates across the country. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to be in an expensive area, excuse me, like Naples. You could be anywhere and be able to produce the same quality, same results, and level of expectation for every client every time. And that's what I do, and I try to promote with inside my field, with inside my industry to help my fellow technicians. So how do I plan to continue my growth over the next year? For the next year, one thing right off the bat, obviously Knowledge Fest in Vegas, being there and attending that is going to be phenomenal and awesome. All the manufacturers trainings are part of my growth. The Mobile Solutions Expo that's coming up, I'm already signed up for that, got my flight and everything ready for that. I am extremely excited about that. One thing that I've tried to do more of is get outside my comfort zone and continue to stay there. So always being the electrical, techie, troubleshooting, and diagnostic guy, I never got the opportunity growing up through the ranks to do a ton of fabrication. So fabrication for me has always been a little bit more challenging. My OCD allows me to produce great results, but it takes me a lot more time, and it's just repetition. I haven't done enough of it. So for me, I'm trying to incorporate fabrication more and more into my daily builds. And whether it's something extravagant or something simple, but just adding that little touch to each and every client's build or install will help get my hands and my memory and my tools used to producing that kind of level of quality craftsmanship, whether it's custom fab or upholstery or 3D modeling or lasers or you name it. I'm extremely excited to keep deep diving into all those areas and become not a master right off the bat, but more proficient, I would say, at it. Mastery definitely takes a long, long time, and I'm happy for the challenge and happy for the ride along the way. Over the next year as well, acquiring the additional installation space. We plan to build up a spray booth over inside 10. Probably put a lift over there. We have also signed a dealer contract with Turn 14 and a couple of performance opportunities there. We're a member of the Porsche Group of Naples, Paradise Region Group. So little things, maybe intake, exhaust, or headers, or little factory modifications, just to let these clients and folks know that, you know, not everything that goes into the car has to look aftermarket. That there are solutions out there that keep your vehicle looking neat, tidy, clean, and what I really, really enjoy doing is doing those fabrications and the build projects where the challenge is to make somebody scratch their head and decide whether or not that was a factory add-on or is that aftermarket. And if you can get to that level of fabrication and expertise, that's where I'd say you've started to kind of punch your golden ticket on it, to where you've got people at dealerships scratching their heads to see whether or not they offer that factory option that they saw in another vehicle, and they have no idea that it's something completely aftermarket. So for me, for my focus for the next year is going to be on my fabrication abilities in all areas and all aspects, whether it's woodworking or working with acrylic and the laser, or I'm really excited about the 3D printing and 3D modeling. I'm already looking to get a bigger printer already. I know it's really soon, but I'm excitement and anticipation of what can come out of these is really got my gears turning and got me really excited for everything going forward. So now on to the most difficult question of all. Why do I feel that I should be Installer of the Year? And that's a really tough question to answer. I'm not really sure if I am. And I don't mean that in a negative aspect. I know that there's areas that I can grow in. But I think being a good installer and a good technician is understanding your shortcomings and being humble enough to admit it. So I'm very proud of the accomplishments that I've had throughout my career, becoming an MECP Master Expert, becoming a subject matter expert, helping teach and coach and train others at Knowledge Fest events, winning the MECP Technician of the Year award, winning Retailer of the Year. There's a lot of things that I'm very proud of that had you asked me 10 years ago whether I'd be in the position that I am now, I would have thought it's not even possible. But going through this and getting outside my comfort zone and starting Devine Concepts has made me more comfortable being uncomfortable, if that makes a whole lot of sense. So for me, the Installer of the Year is somebody who not only is great at fabrication, but also has a good mind when it comes to the technical aspect and the architecture in the vehicle and the understanding of how and why things work. And it's not just electrical and fabrication. It's what you do to help others inside our niche and inside our industry and our big 12-volt family. An installer should encompass all those traits. You know, he or she should be an amazing troubleshooter and diagnostic. They should be terrific with fabrication. They should be great with customers and customer satisfaction and customer service. You have to be a well-rounded installer, technician, and individual, in my opinion, and in the industry eyes, to accomplish installer of the year. So I may or may not be ready. I feel I have gotten there and that I've done my due diligence to at least get my hat in the ring. Um, will I ever say that I'm the best and I should be number one? Absolutely not. Even if I make it to that level, I'll be super excited and super humble. I might have a Justin Cush moment, but it it's it's something to strive for every year. It's something to keep that fire burning underneath you and keep you passionate about what you do and how you do it and your growth. And that's why I love the Mobile Electronics Industry Awards. For me, it always pushes me to be better, work harder, try something new, get outside my comfort zone, network with peers, look at what others are doing, and try and emulate or design or fabricate something similar, or even in the ballpark, or take a great idea and modify it and make it your own. Um, all those things are attributes that I try to put out on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and always just strive to be a better me than I was the day before. So I just want to take a moment to thank everybody through the Mobile Electronics Association, Chris Cook, all the MEA team, all the judges, everybody who's having to sit and watch these extremely long videos, and just everybody in the industry as a whole, because we all couldn't do it without each other. So super happy, super excited. Can't wait for Vegas. I will see you guys all there. Everybody have safe travel, safe flights, and enjoy. Later.